FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Political scientists have long known for over 50 years that normal people, who are about 85 to 90% of the population, differ in significant ways from the people who are deeply involved in politics, the people who run for office, who work in the campaigns, who actively work in the interest groups, who give money and so forth. Normal people tend to be moderate in their views, they're ambivalent, they are pro-choice and pro-life at the same time. They're confused, they don't know what to do about global warming or what to do about the Medicare crisis and so forth. They are generally not extreme. And they tend to be pragmatic rather than ideological. They don't come down always on the side of government solutions or always on the side of free markets. Sometimes it's this way, sometimes it's that way. They don't seem to have any particular need to make everything consistent. And in fact, in the book published a little before the 2004 elections, we showed that there were very minor differences between blue state and red state differences in their policy views, their attitudes toward groups and so forth. There were also, in the new book, we have a book coming out next year. We've tried to gather as much over time data as we can, and there's really almost no evidence that the American electorate differs in any significant way from the electorate Richard Nixon was talking about back in 1972. These are people's ideological positions. Now, the sociological database and the political science database show simply no change over time in the percentage of liberals, conservatives, and moderates. Gallup, of all people, shows an increase in moderates. According to Gallup, that's the top line there. There are more moderates now than there were in the 1970s when we had Jimmy Carter and Jerry Ford and Richard Nixon, sort of classic centrist type politicians. These kind of data, incidentally, when you get underneath, they're very interesting. Liberal has never been, that's the bottom line there, and they're down about 5 points. It's never been a very popular label in American politics, but the number of people who support liberal programs is considerably higher than the people who say they're liberal. And on the conservative side, the label is more popular than the programs. A fair number of people who say, I'm a conservative, will then opt for not conservative programs. They don't want Social Security, private accounts, and so forth. So, I mean, don't take the labels too seriously. But on everything we've been able to see just shows not much change over time. Even when you focus on some of the defining issues of politics in the past generation, you don't see much change. This is a question on abortion that the sociologists have been asking since 1972. They simply ask, this is the National Opinion Research Center, in which circumstances, which of the following circumstances should abortion be legal? And it's pregnancy resulting from rape, birth defects, threat to the health of the mother, the marital status of the mother, the income status of the mother, and so forth. And on average, over the last generation, Americans have said legal in 4 circumstances. The 3 traumatic circumstances, rape, incest, and birth defects. And then you get a lot less support when you go to the more elective circumstances. Now, the parties, they're clustered at the extremes, the party activists, 0 and 6. This has been a litmus test for the 2 party major nominations for the last 20 years. You're Republican, you've got to be pro-life. You're Democratic, you've got to be pro-choice. But the citizenry are really all clustered in the middle, no matter how you cut it. For example, here's red state, blue state. These are the reddest of the red states, the 11 states of the old Confederacy, contrasted with really blue states like California, Washington, and Oregon, because a lot of the northeastern blue states are heavily Catholic, and so I cut them out. You can see the difference here is sort of like 3.5 to 4.5 circumstances, and it's converging rather than diverging. Even when you look at partisans, Democrats and Republicans who identify themselves that way in the electorate, you see a very funny picture that Roe was decided in 1973, way out in the far left of that diagram. The party platforms, national platforms, diverged in 1980. It took another 12 years for Democrats and Republicans in the electorate even to figure out which side they were on, that they're just all jumbled up until the early 90s, when finally Democrats began to get a little more pro-choice, Republicans a little more pro-life. And you see it sort of diverges. As the parties have become, in this country, more homogeneous, as the Democrats have lost the South, the Republicans have lost the Northeast, the parties are more homogeneous now than they were a generation ago, but still far less than the national party leadership and the party activists. And let me just push that question. This is an abortion question from the National Election Study the political scientists run every 4 years. And I've contrasted here strong Democrats and strong Republicans. From the early 80s to a couple of years ago, the country was roughly divided into thirds, Democrats, independents, and Republicans. As Daron will tell you, the Republican brand has been sinking in the last few years. And then within each party, political scientists ask, would you consider yourself a strong Democrat or Republican or a not so strong? And so this, and they divide about in half. So this is the 1/6 of the country that says I am a strong Democrat against the 1/6 of the country that says I am a strong Republican. And as you look there, strong Democrats, 10% say abortion should never be allowed. And another 23%, a quarter, say only in the most severe cases of rape, incest, or the woman's life is in danger. So a third of the strong Democrats in the country are pro-life. On the Republican side, 22% say abortion, or excuse me, 23% say abortion should always be available as a woman's choice. Another 18% say take the waffling option anytime there's a clear need. So about 4 in 10 strong Republicans are arguably pro-choice out there.